Hey everyone, welcome to a shorter video covering what I covered yesterday in my 2-hour live video about another YouTube channel called The Nerve. The Nerve, I never heard about it till someone asked me to watch this. I don't know what I want to call this yesterday. And this is a 15-minute video that right now sits at almost 30,000 views. If you don't know Karen Read and the Karen Read trial, and you watch this show, you will come away believing that Karen Read is a killer who cheated her way out of a conviction. Based on, well, seemingly that the host of the show really disliked Karen Read. She has so many personalized things against Karen Read, and the fact she's basing it on, well, a documentary, you probably might have watched it, A Body in the Snow, and some news reports. She has zero facts that is backed up by anything that happened in court. But let's get into it and go through some of the things that I found was just absolutely stupid. And not that YouTubers should be held to any higher moral standards than the rest of you, but at least if you're going to make a show where you're going to call Karen Read supporters, cult members, ugly, unhealthy, you might want to just make sure what you're spouting is the truth, or at least something that you can back up instead of just doing a hack job. But that's the problem with YouTube also. We are just chasing clicks. Who needs facts? Plevin is probably more truthful than this show. I'm not going to show clips because it's a big channel. I probably would be copyright struck. So you have to just listen to my salty voice. And if you want to give her the click, that's your prerogative. I'm just warning you. If you're getting your news either on pop culture or true crime from this channel, you might need to fact check them. One of the first things she goes into is how she used donor money to hire top lawyers. Karen had already gotten her legal team. Then people started rallying around Karen's case after Turtle Boy started covering it. People looked at the evidence, saw this doesn't make sense, and started donating to Karen's defense funds. And how does she describe this legal team? Well, she doesn't mention any of the great lawyers that we all know. No, she just goes into, well, she went to Harvard Law and was told to hire Kevin Spacey's guy. Alan Jackson is an accomplished lawyer. Yes, he represented Kevin Spacey. He's not the Kevin Spacey guy. He's a former LA prosecutor who has a law firm, who did amazing for Karen Read. But in this woman's world, he's just a Kevin Spacey guy. Yeah, let's just dumb it down so everyone can be onto it. She also gets mad that Karen Read, in her speech outside of the courtroom, says, I fought the hardest for John. Well, this woman gets it wrong, calls him James, but hey, again, it's just a basic fact. This is what someone falsely accused for murdering your boyfriend would do. Of course she's going to speak out. She was turned into a villain in front of the world by the system, by the prosecution. The prosecution spent millions of taxpayer dollars to try and pin it on the girl. The police didn't secure the scene, didn't really look for anything, never went into the house. They didn't even do the basic evidence collection, and evidence just kept showing up. But how dare Karen Read say she fought for John? Should we claim Proctor fought for John? Talking about F her, flat butt, she's hot in a crazy way. Yeah, let's make Karen the villain, because the police did such a stellar job fighting for a brother in blue. Then she goes into the classic. Well, she sent her supporters after witnesses. There's no evidence that Karen ever told anyone to harass any witnesses. What really happened was people started looking at this case, looking at what the police didn't look at, and started asking questions. What I have seen so far, yeah, some people don't like the way Turtle Boy did it. But just because you ask who was in the house, why did Higgins go back to the police station? That's not harassment. That's called public scrutiny. That's called asking the questions that you should be asking when you're looking at this case. She also claims that Karen just wants media attention, and she's the one who got the documentary crew to follow the case. As I can find it, the producers of A Body in Snow reached out to both sides. The prosecution said no. The defense said yes. Karen didn't go back for a documentary to be made about her. And knowing what we know now, Brennan using it against her in the second trial, she probably would have rethought that decision. But she didn't beg to be on camera. She cooperated with a documentary crew that wanted to document this case and turned it into an anti-Karen Read documentary. The documentary team was the one who wanted to follow it, wanted to go out and make it public. And then we turn into where this has nothing to do with reporting. This is just, hey, I don't like this woman. She's weird, kind of like Amanda Knox. If you don't know Amanda Knox, some people call her Foxy Knoxy. She was accused of unaliving another person in Italy, got found guilty, got found innocent. There was a lot of back and forth back then. Who might have done some weird things, but this is just a personal attack. It has nothing to do with any facts. When we looked at the verdict being read, when we saw Karen breaking down in court, when we saw Janetti crying in court, is that loving the spotlight, seeking attention, or are this human nature when this team has been under an extreme pressure for years? Just saying someone is like Amanda Knox and calling her an evil woman, that has nothing to do with fair analysis, nothing to do with covering facts. It's just smear tactics. Again, you don't have to be of a higher moral standard to be a YouTuber, but you need to get your facts right if you're going to go out there and talk to your 100,000 plus audience after the verdict is in. This is the level of reporting we had from Plevin before the first trial started. She also claims that in the documentary, Karen said, "It's all about me." Again, she's a fame whore. Yeah, you can make it say that if you rip it totally out of context. That's the beautiful thing. Let's just take everything out of context. What Karen was talking about when she said it's all about me was how the media turned the focus away from John's death and onto her. And to be honest, they did. How many of the media have had anything to do with justice for John O'Keefe? They just wanted to pin it on the girl. She also claims that Karen wanted national attention to this case and couldn't get it. So what did she do? She called Turtle Boy. By the way, this woman claims that Turtle Boy, a grown man called Turtle Boy, he should change his name. Well, it's a YouTube moniker. My name isn't really Broken Baker either. But she claims that Karen was the one who started Turtle Boy. There's no proof of that. Turtle Boy saw the case just like the rest of us and thought there's some inconsistencies here. I started this case when I saw the picture of the arm and thinking, that has nothing to do with a car. Imagine if Turtle Boy didn't start covering this. Would we 2 years, 3 years later be doing this? Would this YouTuber be making a video claiming Karen was evil if Turtle Boy didn't see the inconsistencies and start covering the case? It would have been buried. No one would have talked about it. It would just have been a hit and run case in Canton, Massachusetts that sounded a bit weird. Thank you, Turtle Boy. She also gets into how stupid you have to be to believe that cops would cover up a death of their own. But the problem is, if you listen to the testimony from all the witnesses, it doesn't match up. And it doesn't match up with the injuries to John O'Keefe. The blunt force trauma to the back of the head, nothing to do with being hit by a car. His body not frozen or covered in snow, even after hours outside. I know there was about as much snow to track a cat, but still, his body temperature wasn't low enough. And going back to one of the greatest mistakes in this case, they never went into the house. Proctor said, he's a cop too, he's gonna skate. It's just not something like a wild theory. It is questions that you have to ask looking at the case. I'm not one to say who else did it, because that's not my job. My job is to cover the facts. But the police should have thought, could someone else have done it? Especially when they saw there was no damage to the tail light in any way like they claimed in court. We know that from Barros. She also gets into Karen's drinking, claiming Karen was drinking in the car on the way over there. Who have said that? What evidence have there ever been of that? This is one of those crusty theories where, oh, she was in the car and he took her drink and she got angry. One of those wild stories that you get from the aunties. Karen was drinking. Karen admitted she drank, like everyone else. But her sitting in the car drunk and then getting angry and backing up, no one has even said that in court. No one has tried to prove it in court because they couldn't even prove she backed into John O'Keefe. So her being drunk in the car, again, if you want to sell clicks, this is what you do. You just go wild. You hope people know nothing about the case, and then you just sell BS. One of the things that really made me mad, and this is because I was watching the Zachariah Anderson case when that happened about 2 years ago, another case where I believe a man was innocently convicted of a crime he didn't commit. In that case, they started using the I love you. The I love you is a sign in sign language. They started using it to make sure that wasn't too much noise outside of the courtroom. This reporter claims what they are doing in this picture is the V for victory. Clearly, it's an I love you. This is not a victory symbol. It's not a political symbol. It was a way to show solidarity, especially to her supporters who have been here for years. And if you're triggered by someone saying, I love you, maybe you are not cut out for doing this. Another thing that is brought up in this report, let's be generous and call it that, is this good old picture. Remember this? When the anti started going with Karen and AJ are banging. We know this is a Photoshop picture, implying something romantic is going on. He is a married man. They tried to say they were banging. And she claimed it happened a week before the verdict. If you're going to use things like this to prove how bad a person Karen Read is, at least get it right. If you're going to lie about what it shows, at least get the timing right. It was in the first trial. This is why I really despise the Nerve's coverage of Karen Read. There are no facts. It's just salacious headlines to grab some clicks and hopefully get some more people to watch the show. This is all the things that's wrong about being on YouTube. Using your, I felt she was an evil woman. Totally disregarding every fact. Never watching 5 seconds of the trial, just watching a documentary. Making up her intentions to be on media. And just as the kicker, implied that her and Alan Jackson is having an affair, that Alan Jackson is cheating on his wife. This is why I got so mad that I had to make not one live stream, but also this video. I really hope, because I believe the Nerve is part of a bigger group. I really hope that this Maureen lady comes out today and detract this video. At least try to prove her facts. She must have someone who do fact checks or make sure she's not spouting all kinds of BS, because again, it's a pretty big channel. I hope, really hope, that the next video on that channel is, sorry, I was wrong. I dislike Karen Read, which is fine. You can think Karen Read is guilty. But these are the facts that I got wrong. Because no matter how much of a grifter you are, facts do matter. And you, sorry to say it, you sold crap in a bucket while calling Karen Read supporters ugly cult members, while talking about how the culture needs fixing. Before you fix the culture, fix your facts.